lights off, you turn the camera off, and I'll be naked when you come back.
Ladies and gentlemen and listeners all around the world, welcome to the one, the only Peoples Pipebomb.
People's Pipebomb, a pro wrestling podcast where we rep the workers, lobby for the jobbers, advertise for the body guys, and amuse the marks while we recap the week in wrestling. I'm Cole Keith, your too pretty for TV host, and I'm joined this evening by Rodney. How you doing, Rodney?
Hey, let's just get this right. I want to be known by Fat Rod, 2 T's, 2 D's. Don't ever forget that when you introduce me. Hear me?
Fat Rod on the mic, ladies and gentlemen.
Hear me.
Turning heel on me already.
Already, you know how I do.
And we got the doctor of wrestling psychology himself, Dr. Grayson Board. How you doing, good doctor?
I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling a little bit tired. I'm not gonna lie. I've been watching a lot of Raw, and I saw the pay-per-view over the weekend. I don't know.
We watched the pay-per-view together. We'll get into that.
Feeling a little bit tired is what I'm gonna say. I don't know.
That's like 12 hours of wrestling this week, but we do it for you guys. And so this is our first episode, and I just want to say thanks to anybody for listening. Obviously, since this is our first episode, our format is subject to change a little bit. But as of now, we're going to be chronologically reviewing, recapping, and reacting to the week in the world of wrestling. Now, I want this to be a show for both die-hard marks as well as people new to wrestling. So we want to make sure that everybody can enjoy and get something out of this. So right now, I just want to address anybody new to wrestling. I want you to know that being a pro wrestler or following pro wrestling is a lot like being a lawyer, and that there's just miles and miles of jargon and a shit ton of lawsuits. So we're going to do our best to briefly explain promotions, wrestlers, and inside terminology as it comes up. But quite honestly, like most things in the world, I think the best thing you can do for yourself is take a deep dive on Wikipedia. And I want you all to start with the glossary of professional wrestling terms. It's a very helpful page for when we say shit like get over, jobbed out, shoot, work, all that nonsense. So, smarten up and do your own research, and we'll get back to that.
For sure.
The more you know.
How's everybody feeling about the week in pro wrestling? Just to kind of overview before we get into it, the specifics.
Wrestling is in a good place right now. Very good place.
AEW premiering, we're going to talk about it. We got NXT going head-to-head with them. We got 9 hours of television right now, ladies and gentlemen.
There was a lot of wrestling
and
in the past.
3-hour pay-per-view.
There was a lot of wrestling. Overall, we had one good day of wrestling, and the rest, other than maybe a match here or there, 2 or 3 matches that I can count on my hands, I could have done without most.
It was a clusterfuck of a week.
That's for sure.
But it was some good stuff to pick through.
So let's get started running down the results and our reactions to the past week in TV. We got Raw. We're going to talk about AEW premiering, NXT on Wednesday night going head-to-head. We're going to talk about the SmackDown premiere on Fox. And we're going to talk about the truly hellish experience of sitting through Hell in a Cell on Sunday, which we all did together. And I think we're better people for it, but I don't know why. Let's start off. We're going to talk about Monday Night Raw, specifically last week's episode that aired September 30th, live from Phoenix, Arizona. So the episode was touted as the season premiere of Raw. Normally something that they say about the Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania, because that's sort of the culmination of the year where they do a lot of blow-off matches and championship matches. And normally they do the draft after that if they're going to do a brand split. This year they're doing it this upcoming week, I think. So Friday. It has yet to happen Friday, as of this taping. But yeah, Friday SmackDown on October the 11th. They're going to start the draft.
I do want to say this, just being in September, baby. The season has changed. The summer is over. So it is the season premiere. Just to throw that out there.
It is the fall premiere. Basically, I think the reason why they're calling it a season premiere and they're structuring it this way is for 2 reasons. One, they want to talk about and play up. One, they don't. The one they want to play up is that SmackDown is now on network TV on Fox.
For sure.
The thing I feel like they don't want to talk about is that AEW started and they want to get a head start and really get some of their best product forward.
For sure.
So new look for Raw. There's pyro. They brought back blowing shit up on TV, which I like. You gotta love blowing shit up indoors. They got a new set. It looks like a shitty half pipe from Tony Hawk 2 build a level sort of shit.
If only they had the music.
But yeah, it's basically a giant curved screen. Whole corner is cut out for entrances. They got a new commentary team. No more Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Renee Young bickering like an old married couple. Now we got Vic Joseph, formerly of 205 Live. We got Dio Madden, former NFL backup offensive tackle, as well as a wrestler in his own right. And our boy, Jerry the King Lawler.
Welcome back, King.
Don't even get me started on Jerry the King
Presumably to draw in fans of Raw from the Attitude Era, and because Vince just wants a dude to talk about titties a little bit more. That's what I'm feeling.
Don't move out the New Generation Era. Just throw that out there.
New Generation Era as well. Yo, him versus Bret Hart was nuts.
Just to speak on the stage, I haven't been a fan of the stage since the Warzone era, so all stages can get flushed down my toilet immediately. That's how I feel about that.
It's too modern art for you?
I'm not mad at the
some Guggenheim shit.
I'm not mad at the announce team. I'm happy Jerry Lawler is back. Everybody who got some new TV this week smartened up and put some real announcers on for once. But I feel like
we'll talk about that.
I feel like with King having with him actually getting the ball in the backfield to lead these guys, they're gonna be all right moving forward. They gotta get a little bit more chemistry. But, these motherfuckers got to start performing and start writing this shit right.
I do think that a positive with Jerry coming in on commentary is that Lawler's never been one to mince words. Say what you will, but he's never been one to, tell tales out of school or, hold his tongue. So it's going to be more off-the-cuff shit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Grayson, what do you think?
So this is interesting. So while I agree... I can see where Vince is coming from in wanting to put Jerry the King Lawler on. He has to go up against Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone with AEW, and he's not thinking about that. He's trying to, create something that people from, get old fans back from the Attitude Era. Me personally, I was not, asking for the days of Jerry the King Lawler to come back. I've never been a very big fan of him on commentary.
You're not into the puppies, man?
You're
more of a cat person.
Yes, the puppies. Yes, I'm tired of the puppies and the
first segment out of the box. What happens? We're not gonna get into too much reaction to it because what happens is Rey Mysterio comes out and he's allegedly got a Universal title shot against Seth Rollins. Now what happens? He comes out. He plays to the crowd. The crowd loves him. He cuts a bilingual promo, tells his son who's in the front row how much he loves him. All sorts of good, kissing babies, shaking hands shit. And then what happens? Brock comes out and puts the smackdown on his ass, gives him an F5, starts beating him up, and then starts intimidating his son, Dominic.
Took the family to the city. Can you be mad at him?
Yeah, man. He's taking everybody a night on the town. The Suplex City.
Listen, Dominic in there getting suplexes, man. He probably got a deal with WWE.
Oh, definitely. He took a bump. He took a hard back bump on the floor.
He got jumped in by Brock Lesnar. And how I view it is legendary. That was your introduction to... Your reintroduction to WWE, with your dad and Eddie. Now with your dad and Brock, you low-key a fucking legend, Dominic.
It's true. Dominic was in case for those that don't know, Dominic was in a custody match. Yeah, he was in a ladder match where if Eddie Guerrero or Rey Mysterio won, they would get custody of Dominic. And now he just looks like skinny Walter. Whatever the fuck.
I'm clamoring for a match with Dominic against either the girl that Kenny Omega slammed or...
I'm feeling we relive the glory days and we have Rey Mysterio versus Brock Lesnar in a Dominic custody match. There was a tag team title match between Robert Roode, who I'm going to refer to as Bobby Roode because...
Thank you. Yes.
Because name changes for no reason. They changed my man's name for no reason and gave him a fucking Ravishing Rick Rude stash. Because I guess Vince thought they were related. I don't know.
Been a lot of tashes lately.
Gotta have a good tash. And Dolph Ziggler is his partner. They're the tag team champs of Raw. So they're going up against Heavy Machinery, who is like two portly working class. That's like their shtick is like they're construction workers. All their moves are named after heavy machinery. So they got like the compactor and the caterpillar and shit. Anyway, it was a solid match. I enjoyed it. I thought it was possibly the match of the night. Really, they had some good tandem spots.
Arguably, like I like them a little bit. A little bit, not a lot of it, but a little bit. I do.
They're not bad. At least they're a tag team. At least they're an
they wrestle
actual
as a tag
team, as opposed to some sort of Frankenstein's monster hodgepodge together that WWE usually likes to do.
I want to circle back to the commentary question. So, like during this match, like I wanted to give the Raw commentary team a good chance here because it's the first time they're together. It's going to take a minute for them to gel. Mm-hmm. What I noticed with this match and with the with the Sasha and Alexa match is that Lawler's doing the heavy lifting, and when it works, it works. He had some great lines in this tag team match. Like he said that heavy machinery were built like tanks, Sherman and Septic. That's a great Lawler line. He had another one where he said, Robert Roode is a very religious man. He worships himself.
Yeah.
Like, I like that. Those are bars.
Yeah, exactly. Bars, exactly.
Those are bars. But then there's a lot of space where, like, Dio's not talking much. Vic Joseph misses some of the play-by-play. They're working through these growing pains, and Lawler's trying to fill it in, and he gets a little overzealous with, like, a lot of random-ass fat jokes on Otis in particular. He says, "Look out, Dolph. This guy might say, 'Get in my belly.'"
I mean, it could have just been a lane for Lawler to, like, reestablish himself. I mean, it was wide open to, like...
Yeah. I get it, and he should, but I'm just saying, like, when he's making Austin Powers 2 jokes, it's going to come off as, like, hokier than it should.
I mean, it comes off as Jerry the King Lawler being Jerry the King. I mean, I don't think he's really in touch with popular culture or even wrestling culture for that matter at this point. I don't know. Do you think Jerry the King Lawler, are you getting the impression that he's been watching this stuff? Because I don't.
I don't want to bury Jerry the King too much because the other issue that I had was Vic Joseph, who's supposed to be the play-by-play guy, made like a random fat joke against Otis too. He said, quote, "Otis must be from somewhere in Wisconsin on account of the amount of food he eats. They must have told him to leave for Florida immediately." And I was like, bro, that's not a joke, first of all. That's just like a couple of sentences that are mean. And you're supposed to be you're supposed to be play-by-play guy.
Did he write it?
I guess he did. He just, unless Vince is in his ear,
like some
hey,
off
call him a fat piece of shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
That sounds like some off-the-cuff, like, made-up BS, because I don't even know if I get that joke. But regardless, I'm sorry.
I was nonplussed by the commentary team. I think there's potential. I like Jerry the King in spots. I think, there were some weak points between those two matches. But, they got time to build. They can get it together. This is their first show. We're going to talk briefly about they had a Miz TV segment. And Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair came out because they want to pop all the old fucks.
I'm sorry. I'm still not a Hogan fan, but we can.
Why? Continue. Well, no, we can talk about it. It's pretty obvious.
I think it's
pretty
obvious.
Can't remove Hulk Hogan from what he means to wrestling, but I can say peacefully, fuck Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
I agree. I think we're all in agreement. Fuck Hulk Hogan. They let his ass back in quick. And you know what? You know what's fucked up? So it ties into this segment.
He did his time, I guess. He did his time.
No,
I mean, listen. No, I'm gonna say this for Hulk Hogan. One, you can't remove him. No matter how hard you can have the check stop coming all you want. Like now he's just gonna be doing autograph signings or doing appearances for people who will pay to see Hulk Hogan.
This may sound like a weird. I'm just riffing on this one. This may sound like a weird comparison, but you can't remove him the same way you can't really remove like Chris Benoit. Now it's two different bad things. Chris Benoit iced his whole family. Hulk Hogan said some terrible racist shit on like a recording.
I'm gonna say this: it's a little bit easier to move Chris Benoit out than Hulk Hogan.
Chris Benoit is a better in-ring worker than Hulk Hogan.
Chris Benoit's a better wrestler than Hulk Hogan.
That is not up for debate.
Chris Benoit was one of my favorite wrestlers.
My favorite horseman all time, no doubt. Him and Tully, my two favorite horsemen. But you can't remove Hulk Hogan.
The whole premise of this segment is they're doing a Miz TV thing. It's an interview style show. Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair come out. Basically, they're pumping up a match that they're going to have where they're the coaches of teams, sort of like a tag team meets Survivor Series style match that they're going to have at a Saudi Arabia pay-per-view called Crown Jewel. They should call it Crown Royal.
Crown Royal, because you're going to need some.
But anyway, so it ties in because that's when they brought Hulk back, because they thought, yo, you know what's fucked up? This Khashoggi shit. You know what's going to take heat off of Hulk Hogan? Some Khashoggi shit. So they brought Hulk back at the Crown Jewel pay-per-view right after Saudi Arabia iced the journalist Jamal Khashoggi. And
of course.
I want to just make a point personally. We haven't talked about this ahead of time, but I want to make a point right now that we're not going to be covering the Saudi Arabia shows.
What do you mean?
Honestly, does anybody watch these Saudi Arabia shows?
I have tuned in.
Okay, all right.
What were you doing on that Friday morning?
What were you doing?
I didn't watch it live. No, I watched some of it live. Shawn Michaels match didn't get on fast enough. You know why I was there. I was there to watch Shawn Michaels.
We need DX and
I needed to know if it was really going down.
Because nobody is living that DX life like fucking the Crown Prince telling everybody to suck it.
No, it's funny. You know, we've all been to that like wrestling autograph signing where all the old guys come from the 80s to sign your autographs. That's what one of these Saudi shows feels like to me, honestly.
I'm calling it. We're not going to do the Saudi shows for a few reasons. One, for me at least, personal politics. I'm not really a fan of that whole deal. I think, obviously, I don't want to get into it because it's pretty obvious. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, honestly, I would watch it if I thought that there would actually be some good wrestling on it. But
well, that gets to my second point is that generally it's a bloated runtime and it's sort of like a lot of attraction matches and they don't connect to the storyline. The one exception is the Shane McMahon winning the Best in the World trophy. They trotted that shit out a bit. So if something from the show gets brought onto TV, of course we're going to talk about it. Moving on. So we got Rusev and Rollins out for a match. Basically just killing time to build the angle up to Hell in a Cell. But what I didn't expect was what happened next, where all of a sudden Bobby Lashley comes out with Lana, Rusev's wife, and they just start making out on the ramp in front of Rusev, and he's just low-key standing there losing his fucking mind. But it's a weird move to pull this like love triangle sex thing, and I wanted to ask, what is up with this like horny mind meld between Vince and Paul Heyman trying to get back to that Attitude Era sort of vibe? What do you guys feel about all that?
I mean, if that's the goal, they going down the right track of destruction. Not my wife.
Again, to your point earlier, Rodney, it's sort of like they're going to pick a lane soon because clearly they can't keep doing this if they want the product to be PG.
Now, I could see if like Lashley had a belt and Rusev was like chasing it. And, Lana just was in love with the man with the gold, some old school wrestling shit.
Yeah, that's an actual angle that makes some sense.
But Rusev just wasn't giving up the D is what happened, I guess, in this storyline.
Oh, my God.
I love Rusev.
Honestly,
I don't want to bury my man.
He looks great with the cash. Bobby Lashley, I don't know, whatever.
Lana got black.
I guess my whole thing is like I honestly don't even want to talk about this angle because we're gonna have to talk about it again later.
I hear that. But just in general, like, what are your thoughts on trying to amp up the sex appeal? Because that's clearly what they're trying to do, whether it's working or not. Do you think that it's gonna measure up? Do you think it's weird
is it gonna measure up, Keith?
Well, do you think that this is an attempt to try to, win over the teenager like man fans, like try to relive some attitude?
It was better.
Is it going to live up to that?
It was better when Lita and Edge did it.
At least they were a couple. I don't want to see Lana slutted out on TV because it's how I want to look at you when I see you like cheating on Rusev, in front of everybody. In front of everybody.
Also, this is...
You was smooching with everybody, baby.
Welcome back to the People's Pipebomb. Next, we're moving to Wednesday night, talking about a show I think the whole wrestling universe is looking forward to for one reason or another, and that is the debut of AEW Dynamite. AEW, 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 AEW. AEW is a new wrestling promotion as of this year.
Yeah, I think AEW began with a group of guys calling themselves the Elite. I guess they were kind of the Bullet Club.
A Japanese heel faction originally in New Japan.
It was kind of like the NWO and then the DX kind of mixed together. And I think it all kind of started with a tweet that Dave Meltzer put out.
He told these motherfuckers they couldn't put 10,000 in the building.
Right.
Challenged him, and what did Cody say?
That was a piece of cake, to be honest.
Cody said that.
It was not even a challenge, man. It seemed like a setup. Like,
So,
You conspiratorial hat on?
Meltzer is in on an AEW brain. I just want everybody. He has a finisher named after him.
He's Uncle Dave, man, the Meltzer driver.
he has a finisher named after him. He very well may or may not be the mystery benefactor of AEW.
He could come out like Vince and do the Vince walk and shit. He's swole. He could do the fucking arm drag.
Yo, people will mark out if they seen Dave Meltzer walk out.
For sure.
And tell Cody I'm buying in.
Well, basically AEW starts with 5 wrestlers and a money man. And the wrestlers are Cody Rhodes, who is the son of wrestling legend Dusty Rhodes. He was a WWE superstar. His falling out with the WWE, he had some moments of being a little disgruntled with the creative, shall we say. Various issues, decided to take it to the indies, try something different, go to New Japan, ROH, yada yada. And when he did that, that's when he met up with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, who are known as the Elite. They have a YouTube channel that is run by the Young Bucks that's super big called Being the Elite, in which it's sort of a half travelogue, half kayfabe story builder right now.
Yeah, if you're curious about AEW and you're not watching it, or you are watching it, you're not watching Being the Elite, I recommend you do so. Even if you're not watching wrestling, if you're not a wrestling fan, it
ties in the rest of the story.
It ties in a lot of the story.
It puts the story over a lot more also.
It really does, and I think it's an interesting way to do wrestling business.
I think they figured out the next generation way of telling kayfabe stories.
You know, they do all the interviewing and talking on YouTube and do the wrestling in the ring.
So Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, they're worth talking about. Young Bucks, probably one of the best tag teams, if not the best of the past 10 years.
They're probably the best.
Kenny Omega
we could maybe have an argument about this.
Kenny Omega made a name for himself in Japan with a trilogy of matches against Kazuchika Okada. Worth looking up. A lot of people compare him favorably to trilogy of matches with Ric Flair and Rick Steamboat back in the 80s. It's debatable. It's about your style of wrestling. They are, regardless of whether you want to say they're the best matches, they're definitely really good matches. They're worth watching.
Very good matches.
I really, really, really appreciated Omega Okada 1 because of the reviews of Steamboat Savage WrestleMania that I was getting back.
Yeah.
And it exceeded. I won't say that it didn't. Just where wrestling is now versus where it was then, it just was like almost a good transition of like evolution in the ring. The best match is definitely Okada Omega 1. Hands down, I don't care what nobody says.
No, I think you're right, but I think the other two are amazing too. I think Dave just went, when Star Wars came out in the 70s and everybody was like, yo, Return of the Jedi's lit. It's like, no, fam, it's just the last one. Those wrestlers teamed up with Tony Khan, who's the money man, son of a billionaire guy who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Fulham Football Club, I believe.
Yeah, Fulham FC. Yeah, they are, I think, not in the Premier League anymore. I think they've got relegated to the Championship, but that's okay. It's okay. English football regardless.
Point being, they finally have a backer who has enough money to put on the production value similar to WWE, at least, in the same ballpark. So that's why it's sort of seen as a rivalry now, because quite frankly, there hasn't been a company in the past 20 years that's had a budget to go and make product even close to the production value of WWE.
They probably have the best balance of talent and money I'm excited for AEW. I'm not an AEW guy at all, even though I like a lot of AEW people.
Man.
I mean, somebody got to be against them. I think I could do it.
I think
I'm with it. Fuck them all.
I think I will argue against your sentiment.
All right, so the show airs Wednesdays. The first episode here, the debut, is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019, from the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. 14,129 fans in attendance for this one. And I bring that up to highlight the most obvious difference between AEW and the show that it goes head-to-head against, NXT.
It's hard not to juxtapose this with what was happening in NXT.
I think that's what AEW at least wants you to do. That they want you to see the crowd and see the huge pop. So they start off with intro video, super rock and rolly, with a song about dynamite, and then they got solid pyro coming out of the gate, huge, crazy loud pop from the crowd, the live crowd we were saying, sellout crowd. And hearing Tony Schiavone and JR got me fucking pumped.
Thank God Tony Schiavone is back.
I was marking out from the jump.
The legendary voices of Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone, if y'all don't know, he's like the Scottie Pippen of announcing. Like, he is the ultimate wingman.
Ooh, that's such a great.
No matter who you put next to him, Gordon
Put him in
Soley,
the fucking
Eric Bischoff,
triangle.
Mongo McMichael. He made Mongo McMichael look like a superstar for about a year and a half. All right.
That's what he does. Tony Schiavone put anybody over. But so between the pyro and hearing Tony in particular, it made me think about late 90s WCW Nitro vibes. You know, I was feeling really heavy nostalgia about it, honestly. And throughout the show, I had little ticks of that. And I was wondering what you guys thought about the presentation overall of AEW Dynamite. And did you feel that WCW style nostalgia? Was it just me, or?
Yeah, I think that's going to be like a theme that you'll hear from a lot of people. I think from us as well. I think we were kind of talking about this a little bit, that having Tony Schiavone there with Jim Ross, I think really helped AEW. AEW had been using Jim Ross a lot for their previous events on commentary, and I think a lot of people had some, I don't know, issues. Jim Ross was just coming off a little bit uninformed or old. Yeah, I was trying not to use that term.
He down, man.
Old.
He down for the cause. He don't know what's going on, but he
exactly. He
here.
doesn't know exactly.
I like JR a lot. I listen to not to plug other podcasts that are actually popular and shit, but fucking Grillin' JR is the shit. What do you feel the difference between the nostalgia they're generating and popping fans with versus the nostalgia that WWE brings you when they do things like bring out Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair and even Stone Cold and such?
Just the execution of it. Yeah, you could pour Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan out at any fucking arena in America and everybody will go crazy, but we've seen it a million and one times. You know, it's like I get Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard popping up.
Yeah,
it's different.
It's different,
and it's nostalgia. You know, it's they, you know, the mid Carters and the underbosses. You know, in the last eras, they matter too. It's a good look. I just say it's all about how you do it, when you do it, you know, who you do it with. Like, you could do it with any wrestler.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, just look up what wrestlers are from this city. Who could we bring in tonight? WWE just they've overdone the nostalgic act for so long. Yes. They haven't switched it up. I think they know when it's necessary because, one, they're not trying to get away from it. Yeah. They're trying to get back to, you know, the essence of what people love from wrestling, which was the old school NWA style, down south style. Yeah. You know, just the way they wrestle. And it wasn't more about entertaining and acting and I mean, you got to sell your character, but it was just like, it was more about performing and telling a story in the ring.
I would argue you bring up a good point. I think what is so effective about AEW's nostalgia is that it's not necessarily, although they brought out Arn Anderson, they brought out Tully, it's not even about when they bring out the old guys. They do it just during their regular show with their younger talents. They do it with the pyro, they do it with the ring design. The commentators help because they're, you know, we're used to their voices, they bring us back. But also the style of match has a little bit of like a 90s, there's a lot of chain wrestling and stuff like that.
I'll say some of them.
They can do it with just the vibe, which I think is the big key.
And I think this first match is a really good example of what you're talking about.
So the first televised match for AEW is Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara. Basically, the match is a really solid wrestling match. They bring a lot of that old school 90s. It's a pro wrestling match in a different way. It's not a spot fest, and it's not a general WWE, let's run through our sort of mid-level spots and get to a finish.
I feel like Cody did do a good job putting over Sammy in a loss. Like when I seen Cody come out, like, well, you know, I know Cody's not losing tonight, but who's this guy? I didn't know who Sammy Guevara was. I've seen him a few times, but I didn't really know who he was.
Right.
I'll tell you from Rip, very talented guy. That panda fucking shawl bothers me.
Yeah, see, he's a furry. Yeah,
That fucking panda thing. And we could cut this, but that panda shit annoys the hell out of me. That shit ain't getting over.
And I hear it. I hear it.
He needs like a bear. He doesn't need a panda. He needs like a grizzly bear.
A full bear.
Like not a chump bear.
Pelt.
We need you need to look like you went into the cave and you came back out wearing a bear. He has heel written all over his face.
Craftsman
and
stuff.
it was like they didn't show all of that right away. His heel side.
No.
But he's gonna be a great heel, especially for like the smaller guys, because he can move a little bit in the ring. He can jump,
Right.
he can fly.
And he can tell the story without the promo. He can do it with his body language in the ring. He can tell a heel story. He's pretty natural with it.
And that's I don't know, a good wrestler maybe. I think this has been a theme thus far with all these events with Cody. All the matches that Cody's been in so far. I think he's done a really good job, regardless of who he's been wrestling, at either putting his opponent over and then also making his match arguably the best match of the night. Regardless of what the card was, whoever he was fighting, I think almost every one of these AEW or pre-AEW shows, his match has been, more often than not, the match that everybody's talking about at the end of the show.
And he is the one that consistently brings that old school vibe where you start with the chain wrestling,
Agreed.
you get into some holds, there's a
Agreed.
lot of selling.
Every one of these matches puts over a story.
That's how you wrestle.
And the finish comes when Cody gets his knees up against a shooting star press from Sammy Guevara and reverses it into a small package roll up for a clean 3. Good solid match, as we were saying. Jericho runs in wearing a little bit of the bubbly t-shirt.
Little bit of the bubbly. A little bit of the bubbly. The most over phrase in pro wrestling for the past week or two.
You gotta get over
Phrase
your
of the week.
viral shit. I appreciate that it's become a thing in pro wrestling to take a phrase that works on the internet for a day and make a fucking t-shirt out of it. So moving on to the next segment. We got Brandon Cutler versus MJF, and realistically, the match is okay, but I'm here to talk about MJF. Maxwell Jacob Freeman. What do you gentlemen think of MJF? And at this point in his career, where do you rank him against other heels in the biz right now?
Well, he's the Jada Kiss of the microphone. Top 5 dead or alive right now. I can give him that one. All right, we ain't gonna say dead or alive, but he's top 5
Food
active.
chain. Just the way that
top
I
5
do
active
things.
or retired. Yeah, man, is MJF on the microphone. I'm not mad at him. I'm more excited for what's down the road for him right now.
What do you guys think the potential ceiling for MJF is? I know this is really speculative, but
I think he could be the
champion.
new Chris Jericho. Yeah, I think he could be
will
the new
he
heel
will.
champion.
After Cody touches the belt,
Yeah.
after Kenny touches the belt, after Chris Jericho gets his second and third run, possibly. Definitely after his second run.
I think when we were all watching, was it All Out together?
yeah.
Guys, we hung out a lot.
We've hung out a couple times to watch AEW pay-per-views mostly. Hilariously
Heard
enough.
that, people? I watch AEW.
Yeah.
He's just
Fat
scouting the
Rod
competition.
watches AEW.
I went to New Japan this year.
Yep. Fat
we
Rod.
we were there too.
We all went to a Ring of Honor New Japan
People don't
show
believe
together.
me when I
Man,
shit
it's crazy. I
on-
forget that we did all these things together.
And when we were at the Ring of Honor New Japan thing, I went with my homie Corey and met up with Rod or my man Fat Rod and
Keith
Grayson.
stole my cousin from me.
Well, it was funny
Mid-show.
because Grayson, I'm texting Grayson. Grayson comes over, and I don't know if y'all have ever been to the Madison Square Garden, but they got this little catwalk thing in the front with seating, and we're sitting in the nosebleeds. Grayson comes over, and I was like, Grayson, I thought you were with Rodney. And he's just like, yo, Rodney's over there on the catwalk. And I was like, how can you tell? And he's like, he's the only dude in an NWO shirt. And I'm just like, yo, Rod!
Definitely wore my NWO shirt.
Yeah, I think
I
I was
had
wearing-
a Bullet Club shirt on under my hoodie, straight up, though.
I think I was wearing an ECW shirt that day. You can tell.
It was
fully I
Mania
am.
weekend. I had to represent. I wasn't going to sell out for nobody.
So then we got Jay and Silent Bob in the house, aka Jay Muse and Kevin Smith playing a bit part, setting up, plugging the tag team division, and they're having an upcoming tournament to determine who is going to be the inaugural AEW tag team champs.
Snoochie Boochies.
Basically, they're just kind of plugging the tag team division. And did anything about this segment in particular do anything for you guys?
A little bit, if I'm not mistaken, was this like they had like a SCU promo, and then they then cut to SCU being interviewed
Live.
by Tony Schiavone.
Yeah,
live.
So it was all over the
the-
place. I thought this was the least I don't know if that's a good way to phrase it, but the least well executed part of the show. But I will say, Scorpio Sky does a fucking banging Obama. He was crushing the Obama impersonation. What do you think of the AEW tag team division?
I love tag team wrestling. I will put my neck out there and say I love tag team wrestling a lot. I will follow where the good tag team wrestling is. That's, I think, one of the reasons why I like AEW so much right now. I think WWE has been disrespecting tag team wrestling. New Japan has a fair amount of group matches. I don't even know if I would say that there is good
best
tag
team wrestling located.
Where is the best tag team wrestling? I think it's right now at AEW for sure.
You gonna say NXT, Rodney?
You would say NXT?
When they're tag team wrestling, yes it is.
Whoa, but there's so little tag team wrestling in
I'm not
let's
gonna
talk
lie.
about it. DIY,
Yeah.
AOP,
Okay.
the Revival.
Tag team wrestling in general, I suppose. I feel like AEW, has the Young Bucks, who I think are maybe the best tag team in the world right now. You need some heeled tag teams because you have so many over tag teams right now that you need some bad guy tag teams. Angelico and Evans,
Yeah.
they're heels, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
The former AAA champions for a long time.
Dressing like Raver Guy Fieri will do that for you.
No, they look like they're sponsored by Monster Energy Drink. And then so you have...
Both of their names are Kyle. So this tag team tournament that they're doing, they're starting, I believe, this week, tonight, as we record this on October 9th. The tag team tournament to determine the champions. The finals are going to be October 30th on their television show. And you got the Young Bucks, Private Party, Lucha Bros, Jurassic Express, which is Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Best Friends, SCU, and the Dark Order are participating. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out.
Yeah, do you guys have any... I mean, it kind of began before with the Dark Order against, I think, Best Friends at the last event. Dark Order won that match and got the first round bye. Do we have any predictions on how this is going to go? Who's going to win?
Not Young Bucks.
Yeah, this is easy. Looking at the bracket, it's definitely gonna be SCU versus the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
You think it's gonna be...
I was going to say SCU is probably going to win the first belt. Or the first
Yeah,
belt.
I mean that's probably part of their guaranteed contract for signing on.
I think it's best for business, too.
Interesting. See, I'm
You don't think so? I think SCU is a good
best
tag
for business
team.
now.
They're
In a
veterans.
year,
They want to put on some veterans that can talk on the mic and work.
next October, the Elite should be wearing all the belts in the organization, or at least worn all the belts together for one run.
See, that's interesting. I personally think, and maybe again this is because I like the Dark Order so much. Because again,
Get the fuck outta here with
I
the
will
Dark
keep saying how much I like the Dark Order. I will say this until my face falls off. That the Super Smash Brothers. I think that it will be them against the Jurassic Express, and I see the Dark Order winning the first tag team championships.
So, next match is going to be Hangman Page versus Pac, is how they're having everyone pronounce it, which is weird because I'm used to saying Pac.
I'm gonna say Pac.
Fuck it, Pac the bastard. I love that he's the bastard. I also love that Tony Schiavone gets a kick out of calling him a bastard, and JR comments about it. And Tony Schiavone points out that they're TV 14. So, but anyway, great match. I thought it was really well executed as far as all the moves and the psychology. The only problem I had with it was pacing. I felt that this was the first time that I noticed that they really didn't know how to operate around commercials as a TV show. I thought that there were some awkward breaks and pacing issues. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I kind of found that as an issue. I don't quite remember exactly where the commercials came in, but I felt like that was more of an issue with the AEW show than it was with the NXT show. And granted, the NXT show had less commercials.
That's true.
As it seemed like it was a point of emphasis for them.
I thought this match really worked on every level but pacing, so I'm not going to give it too much of a hard time. Pac goes over with the Brutalizer, TKO submission. He's clearly getting a big push from AEW right now.
For sure.
I mean, shout out to Pac.
He looks like he'll hold them up hostage if he doesn't get pushed properly. Like, he rode the bench enough in WWE.
And honestly, I think he deserves a push.
The next match, we got Nyla Rose versus Riho for the Women's Championship. I had some mixed feelings about this match. First of all, I want to say we got Dr. Britt Baker sitting in on commentary allegedly, but she did not say a damn thing. How do you guys feel about Britt Baker?
She's good. I'm surprised she wasn't there, but I'm sure she will have the belt sooner rather than later. Is kind of how I feel about Britt
I thought
Baker.
having her on commentary and not saying much really said something to me that I felt maybe they feel like clearly she's a good in-ring performer. Maybe they feel like she's not there with the mic, although nobody in the women's division at this point really is, except for maybe Brandy, and she's not a very good in-ring performer.
No.
So
I'm not born in on AEW's women division yet.
I'm not either.
I don't think any of us are really.
I don't even think it's...
What
Even with how WWE books their women division, I don't even think it's half as good as WWE's women's roster yet.
No, it's
I
not.
agree.
It's
None
not
of the
even
women are
close.
established, and it's just like WWE might be overloaded with great women. Like, the women can have their own show at this point, and it probably could be.
It's funny. The women's roster in WWE is kind of how I started getting back into WWE about 2 years ago.
I would
a
agree
lot
with
of the
that
women's
entirely.
stuff is kind of how I.
They're probably at least 12 women wrestlers strong that can hold the belt.
Yeah,
between both belts.
In AEW, I like Riho. I like Yuka Sakazaki.
Notice the first two people that you're talking about are Joshi wrestlers.
Right, and I'm a bit of a stand for Joshi. I like Joshi.
I think you're right.
I'm a big Io Shirai guy. Again, I love Asuka and Kairi.
From my 2 cents of AEW, I think the women's roster is pretty underdeveloped, and to Grayson's point, I agree with him that I think the Joshi wrestlers are kind of the best right now. Realistically speaking, I think they need to lean on Kenny Omega's Rolodex, his contacts in Japan. I think they should bring more Joshi wrestling into it, because I think that's the only way they're going to be able to go head-to-head with WWE's women's wrestling. So, TV main event time. We got the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Chris Jericho and Ortiz and Santana, a.k.a. or formerly known as LAX.
Ooh. I was really hyped for this match. I was really excited.
Well, what'd you think? Did it deliver for you? What?
No. Not at all. I was very disappointed by this match.
Because it should have been Enzo and Cass.
Tell me why.
It's tough. I don't even really know what to say about this match. I was very excited for it.
I know what to say about this match.
Yeah.
Jack fucking Hager. I want to clap it up for
There we go.
actually liking Jack Swagger for the first time since We the People actually started.
Ain't it the truth, though?
I mean, to me, he just looked like he just drank too much beer before all WWE events.
If you didn't see the match, basically, it was a wild spot fest. Jon Moxley runs in and attacks Kenny Omega.
With some great WWE-style camera work that happened there, by the way.
That's true.
WWE-style, whoever's style. It was some great camera work with Kenny.
Brought him back to the VIP section, gave him the Death Rider elevated DDT through a fucking glass table. Big, nasty, hardcore spot. I like that. I like them going forward. I thought it was funny, though, because now when we get to talk about Hell in a Cell, we could talk about throwing fucking rules and stipulations and shit out the window and just breaking the shit out of logic. But for a minute there, I was like, yo, how is Moxley allowed to just steal Kenny Omega and beat his ass? And I'm like, well, you could argue that since he's not the legal man at that moment. But no, I mean, it's all kind of silly shit.
At least it wasn't a world title match.
Yeah, they didn't throw away the logic for that. And honestly, it was all setting up for a schmaz anyway. So at the end, Chris Jericho hits the Judas effect on one of the Jackson brothers.
Judas effect is probably the sweetest finisher.
I like the Judas Effect because it fits Chris Jericho so great because it's like actually violent and fucked up and also something like anybody with a dad bod could do.
It's a great heel move because nobody really enjoys watching it. I don't know.
I fuck with it.
It's a great heel move because I don't know. I feel like it's like it's. I don't like it as a finish, but I think it works really well as a heel move as a result.
If you haven't seen it, Judas Effect is a spinning back elbow done at half speed, basically. Anyway, so after the match, big schmaz, as it were, breaks out. So the faces start fighting with the heels, and then the big reveal, as Rodney was saying,
The Hagermeister.
the Hagermeister, Meisterburger, Jake Hager.
Jake Hager.
Formerly Jack Swagger of WWE pops up.
Undefeated MMA fighter. That is how you make an arrival.
Facts.
He's like 2-0.
WWE's bringing out all
With
these
your
defeated.
shirt on, all right? Just
Yeah.
wear the shirt. My man pulled out his comb. He slicked back his hair. I like the little swag my man Jake
him with
got
the guy
going on
Dude,
right now.
he had some Jake Swagger, man. I like
Hey,
it.
man. Swag is off.
The swagger body wash.
Swag on a million right
I loved
now.
it. I thought it was a nice pop. I thought, again, to your point, he's undefeated in MMA. We're going to get to talk about the WWE's relationship with MMA. But I feel like they often get dudes that are not really at the top of the game. Jake Hager, I don't follow MMA, but being an undefeated, solid fighter, still like arguably in your prime, that's a good transition. That's a good look for AEW.
Who also has some experience wrestling.
Exactly, he
Former
is
world heavyweight champion.
Jack Swagger. Yes. Yeah, to Grayson's point, he not only is trained in wrestling, but to Rodney's point, is a former champ. So in WWE, so should be interesting to see how that plays.
It's like a rapper who has made a platinum or gold album or whatever, but then has also won some battles. You know, he's got some street cred too.
Shout out to Cassidy. All right, so next up, going head-to-head with AEW on Wednesday night, we had NXT on the USA Network.
NXT.
I don't
know. I feel like it deserves it. If we did it for AEW, and NXT was pretty damn good too.
It also has a chant.
I feel like I just want to say, Adam Cole,
Baby. I'm with it.
I can't argue with that. I don't
Also-
think anybody could argue with that.
Also, Rodney, I put that in a bar on my last album. Also, so Cole Keith, I'm also a producer and rapper, so check out my SoundCloud, / Cole Keith. Thank you. Anyway.
Cole Keith, baby.
yeah, I
Cole
rap, but
Keith,
I don't
baby.
give out no tracks.
But for some background into NXT, if you're not familiar, try to be real concise. It was considered really, until recently, WWE's developmental brand, but Vince decided to call up the show, if you will, and put it on USA, basically in order to grab some ratings and go head-to-head with AEW so they didn't run unopposed on Wednesday nights. Now, to those unfamiliar with NXT, that may sound like a bad thing, or, you know, it may sound like just like a money grab, but to be honest, by many wrestling fans and critics, it's considered to be one of the better, if not the best brand that WWE has. This is largely attributed to the fact that the brand is the landing place for popular indie wrestlers and international wrestlers on their way to the main roster shows of Raw and SmackDown, and some would argue most importantly that it's run by Triple H and not by Vince McMahon. So a lot of people give Vince a lot of shit. Triple H runs this show a lot more like a Ring of Honor style independent wrestling format. A lot of focus on in-ring wrestling.
Say it right. He does what's best for business on NXT.
He does.
Yeah, I don't know who runs the show. I assume it probably is Triple H. I used to love Triple H's wrestle, I'll be honest. But regardless.
Me too. Triple H.
The Click.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I probably wouldn't like him now at my age. Maybe I would. I don't know. I like bad guys, but
Triple H is a great wrestler.
NXT is
my
great.
favorite back in the day.
Me being the guy who doesn't really tend
like
to like
the ultimate killer
WWE
dad right now.
Yeah, Raw, SmackDown type stuff. NXT is great. It really is. It's fantastic.
I think people blame Vince McMahon for, being sort of out of touch and bad booking decisions and focusing on theatrics over in-ring wrestling. You can't say that about NXT, and I think that's why a lot of fans really like the product. The broadcast starts live, much smaller place, Full Sail Center. Now they're rechristening it the NXT Arena. You can't really, I'd be honest, probably can't get more than 1,000 people in there. That might be a little generous even.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, what spoke to me about this, upon first seeing it, the average viewer is going to see this versus AEW, and they're going to say, oh, AEW's in the arena. They got the big arena feel, the big pop from the crowd. But NXT, gentlemen, we're all Philly guys. NXT's got that ECW vibe.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing when I saw NXT, again, the opening for NXT for this Adam Cole match compared to the opening to AEW. AEW's crowd, they were hype and they were live lit, if you will. I don't know, they were raucous, and it was more people and it was more lights and glitz and glamour. Man, that NXT crowd coming into that first match, and really all throughout that first match, they were like whipped up to a lather. Like they are
rabid fans.
They were rabid, and it was a great feeling.
Yeah.
It was a great feeling.
NXT's defense, they've been doing this where they've been doing it for the last few years.
Exactly.
This crowd knew what they were up against. The crowd was on board. You didn't have to tell them. They knew what tonight was. They bought the ticket to NXT and not AEW tonight. And it's just like they part of the energy of what was being broadcasted because, they were on the week before, right?
Yes,
they were on like 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Everybody
prior
know that was the night that we was going up head to head, and it was like they had to come hold it down for the night. And I don't think venue size really mattered because I don't think WWE has anything to prove.
I will say that I think if anything, for certain fans, you're going to get that sort of throwback to the ECW era. You're going to get that intimacy from that crowd, and you're actually going to like it more. Like, I appreciate the intimate crowd, the smaller crowd, because I think it makes you feel like, oh, I'm a part of something more insular, smaller. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a part of this clique. Like, it's cool. And also, it sets them up, even though they're with WWE and they got that machine, that money, it sets them up almost as the underdog to AEW, which I think benefits NXT. I think it really put them over in a subtle way.
Are you saying NXT wasn't over?
No, I'm saying they were over. I'm saying when it comes to the Wednesday Night Wars, like everybody coming out of the gate with this, I think at first most viewers are going to say AEW has the bigger house, therefore they're the bigger deal, I'm more interested or more invested. But to somebody more discerning, they're going to see how rabid the NXT following is. They're going to see how good the matches are, and they're going to say, that's my brand. If you're choosing sides, I think it's a strength, personally. I like that style of presentation. That comes into play, at least from my perspective. So that's one of the reasons why I like NXT, because it gave me that sort of intimate vibe. And the other reason, I'm just going to come out and say it, and I think we talked about this beforehand, we're all in agreement, best in-ring performances across the board all week, including Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. NXT knocks it out the park. What do you think?
Adam Cole versus bro. What's bro name right now?
Matt
Riddle.
Matt Riddle.
Absolutely.
The original
bro.
baby.
He's the best.
I know who the
so
bro
good.
was.
He's like if a Cali skater dude was also a violent MMA fighter.
Yeah, for real.
He's like if Spicoli wore short shorts and fought like Brock Lesnar.
Oh, yeah.
He's like if Steve-O from Jackass and Ronda Rousey had a baby.
Word. Thank you, Daylight. So...
What do we think of that match?
No, so it's interesting. I to go back to what you were talking about before, I got a text message from my uncle, who's like a big old wrestling fan for a long time, and he was watching both of these events kind of simultaneously, flipping back and forth, as you do. And he said to me, and I quote, like, NXT gives me that old ECW feel.
This match was amazing. I would say that the opening match, Matt Riddle versus Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. Adam Cole retains after some heel shit, but there was amazing high spots. multiple near falls, really strong striking, sort of this American strong style. And that wrestling style plus the crowd really made me feel the sort of vibes that you get from a really good Ring of Honor show or from New Japan. The near falls and stuff, that's more New Japan than it is WWE. And I gotta say, I appreciate that about NXT. As a big New Japan mark, I really enjoyed the way that they laid out this match.
Yeah, I thought personally that it was the best match of the week, for sure. And I thought that it felt like a Battle of Los Angeles match from PWG from, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, or a New Japan Pro Wrestling like title match at a big event from the past, I don't know, 5 years or so.
For me, it was the greatest match Matt Riddle ever had, even in a loss. And that's a lot. That's something good to take in. Like, you don't gotta win every match to get over. And he got over to me in a loss. Like, I'm not a Matt Riddle fan at all. Like, to me he's annoying because it's just like
his character.
Yeah, it's just like I just see like the not so cool RVD in him, and it just bothers me.
Good point.
Like, it's just like,
Never
all right,
thought
bro,
of it.
do you smoke or no? Because he just is it the shrooms or are you drunk? Like, I don't know which one. It is, bro. Like, he's hippie. Like, that's my guy though. But like, he got over to me in that match. Like, I seen what he can like actually do with like some good work. You know what I mean? But how Vince always quote unquote wants to go with the bigger guy, I think Adam Cole showed you why everybody is raving about him, why the torch is being passed to him, why he's been stuck on NXT since almost 3 years?
Yeah.
Been there for a while.
Almost 3 years. Like,
Head of the Undisputed Era faction, and he's the heir apparent to Shawn Michaels as well. Shawn Michaels is booking. He's the agent on a lot of his matches.
Yeah. So when he comes, when he actually comes over, I'm not even going to say come up anymore, because NXT is they're their own brand.
Yeah.
You know, and I
there's
think
no longer a main roster.
mixing up the roster, how they're doing, moving the cruiserweight title to NXT, how they're doing, it's going to balance out and give a little bit more star power and notoriety to that division and that brand alone. Also, like Finn Balor popping up, that's probably what's next.
Exactly.
Like Finn Balor popping up, like that's a good spot for Finn Balor. Like, it's not a downgrade at no sense. But his size and and just how the guys are working at that level. Is it safe to say NXT is the highest level he's wrestled on? No disrespect to New Japan. That's like in a whole nother continent.
It is. It is kind of a whole other thing.
But like in America,
I would also say that the Prince Devitt character. So Finn Balor, WWE wrestler, was originally Prince Devitt in New Japan. He's an Irish wrestler. Wrestled in Japan. Was the first leader of the Bullet Club faction. We talked about. So he was the founder of that faction. He was a great junior heavyweight in New Japan, but he really came into his own in NXT, to your point, Rodney. And I think, NXT, he's never been more over than that.
I mean, and it's because, a lot of wrestling fans don't really watch New Japan. Like,
that's true. You
and not just like watch one
it.
big show, but like watch and actually see how shit is developing in their storyline. Like, he getting over a lot, and I say in America.
Yeah.
Like, more people here, he's more popular here than he's ever been.
He himself, as a wrestler, as a worker, got over in NXT in America. And coming back to NXT is a great move for him. And it's a great move because he gets to come out immediately after Adam Cole retains, fuck with Adam Cole, and immediately bring a great challenger to Adam Cole's door. So that I think it's a great move.
I mean, NXT is definitely going to need guys that can actually contend for those belts and not just putting them on anybody. Matt Riddle loses. Put on a great match. I see why you got a shot. Who's the next challenger? I don't know, but Finn Balor is a proven dude already.
Moving on to the next few segments on NXT, here's the thing. Honestly, I feel like there is overall kind of less to talk about with NXT because the in-ring product is so good and it's also so much the focal point of the show. I mean, we could break down moves and matches, but the truth of the matter is the wrestling action was amazing. And, there's a couple great matches in the middle of this card with Io Shirai getting a win over Mia Yim. I know Grayson's really into their match.
I like Io Shirai a lot. Mia Yim, I think she's alright. I think she's pretty good. Whatever. I mean, again, better than most of what AEW has. I'll say that outright.
How did you feel about it compared to the Candice LeRae Shayna Baszler match later on for the NXT Women's Championship?
Interesting. I like Shayna Baszler a lot.
I too love Shayna Baszler.
She has grown to my heart.
I'm a little bit. In some ways, I understand why WWE have not pulled Shayna Baszler up into the main roster, but it kind of makes me look at the main roster of the main women's roster a certain kind of way when I'm like,
they gotta protect her toughness.
Right, you have this monster hanging out down here, and she's just been there for a while, and I'm like, yo, you got these girls kind of like playing musical chairs with the belt and with each other.
Well,
and I'm like,
now with NXT coming into its own, having its own show, it makes perfect sense. It
right,
actually benefited them to keep her down there.
Right, I agree. It makes sense. It feels like they're just waiting for Ronda Rousey to come back from maternity leave.
And she lost a finger.
Wait, who?
Ronda Rousey.
She lost a finger?
Bro, she lost like this part of her finger, bro. The whole thing came off on a boat trip, bro.
On a boat trip? Man, yo. She got the...
That's nasty.
Yo, she got the Jason Pierre-Paul. Yeah. Dang.
Shit.
Jeez. All right. I did not know this.
Rodney's getting his phone as if we're all going to want to see Ronda Rousey's mangled ass finger.
I have no interest in seeing her lose her finger. It seems like they're waiting for Ronda Rousey to come back, maybe to bring Shayna Baszler up, and they can be a faction together. They're apparently friends. They could be, I think, a very badass group together.
Shayna Baszler, also, if you're not familiar, former MMA fighter. So she is
oh my gosh.
An MMA fighter. I just saw Ronda's mangled ass finger.
We just saw this finger. It was gross. It was
but
very
so
gross.
Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler, former MMA fighter, and like you said, friend of Ronda Rousey. They could do a lot with that as a storyline, either if they want to go them heads up or they want to start a faction.
Horsewomen Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Book it, baby.
It's true. It's going to be the 4 Horsewomen MMA versus the 4 Horsewomen at WWE Survivor Series. At some point, they're doing that match. Do you see Shayna staying on NXT for a while now that they're on Wednesday nights USA?
Maybe a little bit longer.
A lot longer than she would have.
Maybe a month or so. I think she's somebody who's going to probably get swapped up in the draft that's coming up. I think it's almost time for her to make her move.
I think it's very much time for her to move up. I don't know if it's what's going to happen or not. I understand if they keep her down there, but I don't really know at this point. Bianca Belair rematch, I can see it, and that makes some sense, but who do you have her fight after that?
I feel like it's time for them to come up and get buried like everybody else.
Right, and that's kind of it. Yeah, you got to come up and get your
pin.
Come get your Asuka medicine.
Come get your pin from Becky. Come get your pin from Sasha. Y'all all gonna get pinned.
Right,
y'all gonna pin a couple, but you know.
Exactly. Yeah, you got.
Come get pinned real quick, but y'all gonna have a nice opening, a nice. Oh my gosh, she's here! She's here.
And then Hogan and Warrior and they're gonna bury you for the next couple of years.
All right, so next up, I'm not really going to talk about the match, but more or less the presentation. So we have Pete Dunne going up against Danny Burch. What I want to talk about is guys like Pete Dunne and Walter coming into NXT from, quote, NXT UK. I don't know why I put it in quotes. It's a real show that they invented. So Triple H went out to the UK and did a smart thing and snatched up a bunch of European wrestlers on the indies out there and created a promotion. And I want your guys' input on what you think about NXT UK. Is that going to kind of shrink now that they're going to be promoting NXT proper on TV in America? And what do you think of NXT's use of these European wrestlers in general? What do you think of that dynamic?
I think for the main players in NXT UK, they're definitely going to get use on mainstream TV because just of the NXT brand. Because they got like their own women's belt and their own title there also, if I'm correct. So I feel like it's going to get it'll probably get a little bit of play on NXT and probably as like subtitles for real and just jump back and forth from shows.
Quite literally the European title.
I wouldn't mind that.
It's not a bad idea.
But Pete and Walter are two bulls. I just want everybody to know that.
Pete and Walter, Tyler Bate with the British strong style. The mustache.
wish I could grow that mustache.
Tony Storm on the women's side is really amazing out there.
Gorgeous.
But Dunn's great. I feel like a lot of my favorite wrestlers these days are British
Bruiserweight.
in New Japan with Osprey and Sabre. So I'm all about. I know there's a lot of talent over there. Again, I've been watching a lot of NXT UK, so I'll just spit a quick promo about Velveteen Dream. He should get the belt back. I love Velveteen Dream. My favorite guy in NXT. That's about all I really have to say about it.
So I actually had a segment. I was going to mention Velveteen Dream. I want to give you guys the opportunity. Now, if you want to talk about it, I thought Velveteen Dream's promo was the best, if you want to call it sports entertainment angle on this show that was very pro wrestling. But first of all, if you're not familiar with Velveteen Dream, I want to let Grayson paint the picture for you. But he comes out on this. He rises from the stage on this couch, surrounded by women. There's this purple light and smoke billowing everywhere, and there's this super fuckable 80s R&B shit playing in the background. And he challenges Roderick Strong to a rematch. For the North American Championship, saying salacious stuff like he's never had trouble taking on more than one man at a time.
So
Put over your boy.
This is all I really got to say about Velveteen Dream.
First off,
he's the most he's like one of the most entertaining wrestlers in wrestling right now. He gives me like The Rock vibes in some
Facts.
way.
He's so Macho King Randy Savage meets Prince meets The Rock.
Right,
I was gonna say he's Prince with an elbow drop.
He's got this presence. You can't look away from him. He's captivating. Like you gotta watch him. And I don't even think he's really that like the best wrestler that NXT has by any means.
No,
but he's like so charismatic. It doesn't fucking matter.
Listen.
Velveteen Dream's either going to get it back or he's going to move into the title shot picture at some point.
Right, it has to be one of the two, because if it isn't, like, shame on you, NXT.
And I think he's another guy that if they brought him up to WWE, I want to say this right now.
SmackDown.
I'm going to take the Wrestling Marks perspective and say that Vince isn't going to know what to do with him, and he's going to go Dean Ambrose silly with it and really miss the mark.
So what I'm hoping for personally is that he comes up and Vince is so flabbergasted by his flamboyance or blackness that he has a heart attack and dies. And then he will be able to be put over.
Anyway, so that's a good segment as far as talking about charismatic dudes, because we're going to the main event, and that is a tag team championship match between the champs, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish of the Undisputed Era, and Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, a.k.a. the Street Profits. Street Profits. Amazing gimmick. Again, super charismatic. Also can go in the ring. Great wrestlers. Especially, I think Montez Ford has like a huge upside.
Listen, he already got his 5 minutes of fame every night on Raw.
Right.
What do you guys think? How would you describe in a few words their gimmick?
I would describe their gimmick as... I'd rather just describe them in that, like...
You could do that, too.
They're good wrestlers. One in particular is fantastic. They're both charismatic as fuck. They're very over. And I think that moving them up has been using them as a very cheap gimmick. I don't know. I think they don't even know what to do with them.
I mean, it shows their entertainment value, for sure.
Certainly.
But I just think they're still finding themselves as a tag team. They're over in the entertainment category, but it's just like...
Right.
Like just bringing y'all movesets together, and it's like I just like what tag team comes to mind when you see them, because it's not Harlem Heat. I just want everybody to know.
It's definitely not that.
You know, but it's like really honestly, it might be the Hart Foundation.
Okay. I was going to say something a little bit more cynical. I was going to say Private Party.
I wasn't going there.
Taz can go in the ring. Like, he can
he's
sell.
great. He's great. He
like,
really is.
He puts whoever's kicking his ass over, you know, for the hot tag every time.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just like, what's his partner name
Dawkins.
again?
Yeah.
He got a lot of anvil in him. Like, he comes in and he goes.
But I like them as a tag team, and I think to your point, Rodney, I think they really get over with the Undisputed Era, and this match was great.
Yo, they've been putting on good matches.
This match was great, and to close the show with it just shows the foresight of NXT, because they're closing with a strong tag team match.
Right.
I will say, I watched AEW live and I turned over the channel and NXT was still going on. I was so juiced on AEW. I see the end of this match and I go, oh shit, NXT had the better wrestling.
Right. And for real, so
because the storylines are more developed.
And I think NXT
carrying over.
Yeah,
I think
they told a better story in the ring.
I think they did a good job of, they ran 10-15 minutes over, which I thought was really smart. I didn't even know they were doing that until watching it live and being like, oh shit, they're still going, like that's awesome. And I think this is really just what I want to see more from Street Profits, is like more wrestling, a little bit less goofy promos on Raw and SmackDown.
No, that's facts. There's no seriousness to them yet.
Yeah,
except
exactly.
for when they're in a tight spot.
And they
will
can
say-
wrestle,
Yeah, they
which is
can.
the kind of frustrating part.
No, they're great. I will say, as far as like the gimmicky shit, I want to see more t-shirts that look like a fucking Hot Boys album cover.
That would be great. That would be great. That would be great. Yeah, like an old Cash Money Hot
I
Boys.
want to see that shit
album.
because they got that one
like an
t-shirt
old Lil
that's
Wayne,
fucking fire.
Old Lil Wayne, The Block is Hot.
Yeah, for
whatever
real.
that album was called, his first John.
Other point about the Street Profits, they had Wale come out with them. Bro, you're coming out there, you're getting a paycheck. Who the hell didn't pull him aside in gorilla position and say, bro, give me a hot 8? I wanted some bars. All he did was just come out and be like, oh, that's his street. You say Profits Street. Profits Street.
How you think
I
maybe
wanted
it was like
a hot
on the
8.
spot? Maybe.
I don't know.
Probably. They probably didn't ask him ahead of time and they didn't want to freestyle, but like...
I mean, I'm pretty sure he would have wrote something. Especially, but then again, he might be a writer because I've been noticing a lot of bars getting dropped lately.
Yeah, you could ask
WWE.
John Cena to ask Esoteric to drop some bars.
It was a good match. The whole show was really amazing. And at the end of the show, Undisputed Era is flexing all their gold. Tommaso Ciampa comes back from injury. Another great NXT opponent for Adam Cole going forward. So you got Cole, you got Ciampa, you got Finn Balor like we were talking about earlier. Their title picture, it was looking really cool right now. I thought they did a great job. So
Bring it back.
So SmackDown on Friday night. After years of creating a wrestling industry monopoly and changing the cultural language around wrestling, coining terms like sports entertainment, Vince McMahon finally has what he always wanted, a wrestling show on network television in prime time. So he signs a $1 billion contract with Fox. This debuted on October 4th, 2019. And Fox is trying to promise more of a real sports presentation. That's a very important thing to note going into it with all the advertising they were doing with the NFL on Sundays and general crossover advertising that they tried building up to this. So before we talk too much about the show, I will say, regardless of what we think of the show, it succeeded in the ratings. It popped to 3.8, so you got 3.8 million people watching. Good demographic breakdown. Shows on Friday night normally don't do that well because people are going out, people are doing other things, entertaining. They're not necessarily watching TV on Friday. Considering that, do you guys think that SmackDown is going to be the A show going forward for WWE, or is Raw still where the bread is buttered?
I mean, it seems like it looks like that it's going to be their number one show. I was surprised they did that number. I don't really know what these numbers mean, but it looks like a large amount of numbers.
A 3.8 in context is similar to the numbers that they used to get back in the Attitude Era, which would all be north of 4, between 4 and 5. So
Like
it's
on a Raw.
on a Raw back in the Attitude Era. So it's a
That's
very
real.
good number.
That's real. That's really real.
Because they did good promo for it. They built to it, but
Oh yeah.
Rodney's ready to shit on it.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just saying, Raw is still the A show, regardless, like it or not.
First segment on SmackDown, right out the chute, you got Becky Lynch coming out to introduce the show. King Corbin, Baron Corbin comes out. For those of you who don't know, he's a heel character, extremely polarizing. Decent enough worker, but just pretty unlikable dude. And I feel like he gets put with a lot of shit that creative likes, but the fans don't really like, so they see him as sort of a Vince analog. He kind of looks like a dude that like owns a hookah bar, or maybe a guy that just got into vaping after he found out it was bad for you. It's like a bald dude in a vest with slacks that somehow decided to wrestle that night. Becky Lynch and him get into it, and The Rock comes out to a giant pop. My mom fucking called me about this, so I think that shows how, whether you like this segment or not, which I thought it was very entertaining, they just berate Baron Corbin, and The Rock and Becky Lynch beat the shit out of him, basically. And
shout out to Baron Corbin because he took
it like a
those
champ.
insults and he took that ass whipping.
They chanted
like a champ.
STD at my man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cruel. So we got this Becky Lynch, Baron Corbin, The Rock thing. I think it goes over pretty well. It does what they want to do as far as it brings the sports entertainment spectacle to it. You got the biggest guy in Hollywood coming in, working with one of the biggest stars in Becky Lynch. They got her beating up a dude that everybody hates in Baron Corbin. It's a win-win for people not watching wrestling. It's a big win. Like I said, my mom called me. I got texts from people that are like, oh, The Rock's back on WWE. So, like, it's a big win for them, and I think it helps them pop that 3.8 rating. And Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon had a ladder match.
Great ladder match.
It was maybe the match of the
And I want to say
night,
something.
arguably.
Yeah.
The way that the NBA has like Hall of Fame after like you're Hall of Fame eligible after 5 years, NFL 5 year. Shane McMahon is a first ballot WWE Hall of Famer. I just want everybody to fucking know that, all right?
He's the best in the world.
All right. And
The
not
only
just
man
because
that's allowed to do a shooting star press. Yeah.
His resume is almost flawless. Like
He hit a coast to coast on his dad, and then his mom punched his dad in the balls.
like,
I will say Shane McMahon
He's had
versus
some good
Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 17 from a sports entertainment angle, best match ever, because you got them going into it. Vince is fucking around with Trish Stratus, puts his wife into a fucking like shock. She's catatonic. His daughter starts sort of siding with him and being really weird, and there's all these like incesty vibes. And his son's like, no, Mom, I love you, even though you're in a freaking coma state. And then he's like, I'm going to avenge my mom. I hate you, Dad. And they have this fucking brutal-ass match. And he's like in his son's face, making him bleed. He's like, I never loved you, you son of a bitch. And then like he's about to like smash his kid. And then his wife comes out of the fucking coma and punches man in the dick. And, oh, dude, it's so good.
but my favorite Shane feud, not to be stuck on Shane, is versus Test. When he brought in the Mean Street Posse.
That was great.
Great feud. Young
R.I.P.
Shane.
Test. R.I.P. Test.
Yeah, for real.
So, Owens and Shane McMahon have the ladder match. Great spots. Like you said, Grayson, possibly match of the night.
Yeah, that I don't.
Well, it's hard to say because the angle is so overdone. It's a
We've seen this match like for the past 6 months. Whether or not it was Kevin Owens or not, we've seen this match for like the past 6
so
months.
I think it was one of those things where it was a match that basically the stipulation is whoever wins, the other guy has to stay off TV for a while. And I think we're all kind of in agreement that as much as Rodney loves Shane McMahon, it's probably best if Shane McMahon takes a step off TV for a minute.
I wouldn't mind that because he's been on TV consistently.
He was
last 2
overexposed.
years.
He was overexposed.
Wasn't he the not the King of the Ring? He was the
best in the world? He won the Saudi Arabia thing.
Right. Oh, right. That's where that moniker came
to,
from.
To
yes.
Shane's defense, again, he had to reestablish himself with the company. He was gone for so long. You know what I mean? And him being on TV the last 2 years, it made it, well, everybody got to understand that he's not going nowhere. Yeah. Even, last time, he was away like 7 years last time or something like that.
That's true.
The prodigal son.
Yeah, returns. I mean, they fucked that angle up too.
Next match, it's a brief 8-man tag match. Basically, the whole segment is built to bring in Tyson Fury, British heavyweight boxing champion, into the fold.
Who? Oh, I know. Tyson Fury.
He's a boxer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so him and Braun Strowman get into it at ringside because Strowman throws Ziggler into the barricade and bumps Tyson Fury. After the match, Tyson Fury jumps the barricade trying to scrap. They break it up. Basically, they're just teasing a feud between Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman. And the next segment is your TV main event, Brock Lesnar challenging Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. And it's a squash. Brock beats Kofi in probably less than 10 seconds, I'd have to say. They barely got the fucking sponsor mention before he pinned him. Kofi runs in, jumps up like he's going to kick him. Brock catches him, F5, pin, 1, 2, 3. And what'd you think of the match?
I think that, and y'all ain't gonna like this, I think it was a respectable way for Kofi Kingston to get a title up. One, it was to fucking Brock Lesnar, so nobody cares who you lost to. Two, it was to Brock Lesnar, so everybody's seen it. And if anybody didn't know you, they know you now, because it was on the premiere match of SmackDown main event. And for a bunch of people who just was, who came out to see you win at WrestleMania, because there was no way they was gonna have you lose at WrestleMania after all the shit they done put you through leading up to it. It was a good run. Like, you've had the belt since April, so shout out to Kofi Kingston. I'm not mad at it. Definitely hope he gets another run someday. Hopefully not get treated like Jinder Mahal in the long run. But yeah, man, put the motherfucker on Big E. Let Big E go get that shit from Brock, man.
Ooh. I think it just makes WWE wrestlers in general look bad a little bit. You have, Brock Lesnar, this big guy from MMA who does or doesn't give a fuck about WWE or professional wrestling. He squashes this guy who had this long run that you guys protected for a long time in Kofi Kingston. I mean, he was very over. He had the biggest WrestleMania moment at WrestleMania that just happened, regardless of the first women's championship match.
Well, that was just because the ending of the women's match was botched.
It was, but even then, I don't know. I feel like I think that still would have maybe been the biggest moment. I feel like the pop from that, I don't know if it would have been.
Kofi got the whole family involved in everything.
Yeah. It was cute. It was heartwarming,
different.
And I think WWE did a good job of kind of selling that because they know how to capitalize on a mistake that they've made. My issue, I guess, is that Brock beats him so quickly, so easily.
Now, bigger picture, again, SmackDown is on network TV. They're really trying to go for the average viewer who is not necessarily a wrestling fan. Putting the belt on Brock, best for business?
Always best for business.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that as much as...
I mean,
Never bad for business.
I don't love it, but he's a household name.
I personally could give a fuck. But yeah, your casual MMA person, which is again Fox, WWE now on Fox, UFC on Fox.
And so, tying all that together, we got after the match, what happens? Rey Mysterio comes out to avenge his fucking beatdown from Monday Night Raw, which is the big tie-in from the beginning of this show. And he comes out with his homie, MMA fighter, Cain Velasquez. And the whole purpose of that is that this dude, Cain Velasquez, is a guy that beat Brock Lesnar for the UFC heavyweight belt back in 2010. It's an MMA tie-in.
When?
2010,
So I'm wrong.
years ago.
10 years ago, not 5 years ago.
So what it's okay. So what happens is he comes in, throws some punches, Lesnar runs out scared. Whoa. Did anybody see this swerve coming? Whether or not you liked it, did you see it coming?
No.
'Cause I didn't.
No.
I thought that they beat up Ray for no fucking reason on Monday. I couldn't see where I will give them credit. I think this angle is fucking dumb. But at the same time, they actually wrote like a week in advance, which I'm pretty impressed by.
It makes sense because it's a storyline you almost don't even really have to build. I don't even know why they needed to do the Rey Mysterio shit because it's
Kane
a
and
built-in
him are homies.
storyline.
Yeah.
It's Brock Lesnar and Cain Velasquez.
Honest.
That writes itself if you are an
Cain
MMA fan.
Velasquez being out of shape just didn't get it over.
Yeah.
I agree.
It would have gotten over if he had an NWO fucking t-shirt on.
Yeah.
He could have wore a fucking Stone Cold t-shirt.
And we're
I agree
He
because
could have
now
wore a Suplex City shirt.
I'm sorry. In real life, you can have whatever body you want and be a fucking lethal killing machine and beat the shit out of dudes. But in pro wrestling, you got to put over an image, and that dude just looks fucking out of shape.
At least
and
in
Brock
WWE,
looks
you need to-
shredded. Brock looks fucking
You know
shredded.
who Cain Velasquez looks like?
Who?
King fucking Corbin.
Yeah, and King Corbin has the decency to wear a fucking shirt.
Yeah, he does. He at least wears a shirt and a vest. And it's again to compare that to what happened with
And again, this may
Jake
sound
Hager.
like some body shaming to people that don't know
it's
about
wrestling.
this shit. But it's wrestling, and that's a whole part of it. And your presentation, and like here's the thing, you work with it. Like for example, we were just talking about Kofi. Kofi's got sort of a pectus thing going on. His chest is a little separated. He's a little older. He's not in the best shape of his life, but he puts over his persona and his body works with his character, I think. I don't think it's a detriment. But Cain Velasquez coming out trying to be super tough, looking like the Pillsbury Dome man, doesn't fucking do it for me.
Yeah. Again, to compare this with the Jake Hager thing that happened, he looked great. He looked like better than he'd ever looked before.
It's true.
As much as I'm like nobody wants to see Jack Swagger. Like, yeah, be honest, nobody really cares. But he looked great, and so it kind of made me be like, oh man, okay, word.
So now with all this, the big question is, we got these three sort of schools of thought. We got pro wrestling, we got sports entertainment, and we have a real combat sport. WWE seems to try to have their cake and eat it too here. What do you guys think of the continued MMA-ification of WWE and pro wrestling in general?
It just comes with fighting in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody knows that it's scripted, choreographed, written out. I don't like to use the word staged, but like it's a put together show.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if you have any type of like character or celebrity background, I mean, you could probably always get over in the ring as long as you bring in the sports or entertainment aspect.
And some people put it over great, like Ken Shamrock came in.
Yeah.
Ken Shamrock had a good
Who
run.
should be a fucking Hall of Famer. Why
He's
not?
one of the first MMA crossovers. And then you have Kurt Angle, of course, one of the better pro wrestlers of all time. By the time he retired, he started out, he was a amateur wrestler in the Olympics, an American hero, all that jazz. And he did great. Mark Henry, strongest man in the world, had a great career, good championship run, Hall of Pain, all that.
Yeah.
But the question is it too saturated now, and are they relying on trying to make wrestling look like MMA? Stylistically, what are they doing here?
It's interesting that Vince McMahon, I think we were maybe talking about this earlier, Keith, off mic, that Vince McMahon likes to talk about sports entertainment, make that distinction, and yet seems to want to lean further and further into the sports side of things. I think he was just on record recently as saying something about guys are too pro wrestling. Not quite sure what that means.
He wants that, I would say, that sort of soap opera feel of sports entertainment where it's storyline driven and that the in-ring product is just a facet and not really the focus. But at the same time, he's using people's actual athletic prowess in real fighting at this point, in the case of Cain Velasquez, Tyson Fury, to promote these, soap opera angles about like, oh my God, a ghost from your past is coming back to whoop your ass.
And so I think, I don't know, to me personally, I feel like he's kind of losing the plot when it comes to, I don't know, I think what you get from people that aren't trained wrestlers, is a really different product. I mean, I remember watching Dennis Rodman and who else was in that goofy match? Karl Malone. Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone. Yeah, they're very good athletes, but they surely as hell can't wrestle.
Right.
I don't know. I think he might be going down a lonely, dark road.
He just got money to spend, man. Like, as long as you can help the ratings.
They're popping the ratings.
Yeah, money don't mean nothing to him.
Pop the ratings, but again, I think you're just going to piss more and more people off. We'll get there. Yeah. We'll get there.
So, talking about pissing people off, let's get to our final segment and our main event, the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view.
Oh my God.
As God is my witness, he is broken in half.
So, I don't got a whole lot of notes on Hell in a Cell. I took some live. We all met up and watched Hell in a Cell on Sunday. It aired Sunday, October 6th, from Sacramento, California. I've got to say that I have seen pay-per-views that WWE has put on and I didn't enjoy for this reason or that. Normally it's because they go on a little too long, the card's a little thin. This was the first time in recent memory, because of how prepared they were for TV this week, it seemed underbooked. The pay-per-view seemed like an afterthought compared to SmackDown in particular.
I watch WWE pay-per-views every month. I watch all the bullshit they put on. I'm never really excited for these pay-per-views. This one was a little oversold for sure. I mean, on paper, it was a decent card. It wasn't a bad card, but it didn't deliver.
Also, they didn't have the card until like the day before.
I think that was the thing that I was gonna say. It was like only like 3 of the matches maybe were announced prior to.
But they've been doing it a lot
in terms of the in-ring talent that they had. I mean, granted, they might not have built up the matches as well as they should have. Mm-hmm. One thing that was going on in this pay-per-view, the one thing that everybody wanted to see and talk about,
the main event, they shit the bed. I'm gonna talk.
But did they?
What?
Because I feel like everybody...
They shit the bed, right?
All right.
The first match was a Hell in a Cell match with Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. They put on a good match. They did some innovative spots. Becky put Sasha Banks on top of a chair in the corner, mounted on some kendo sticks, drop kicked her off.
Never
Looked
seen it before.
Cool.
It was cool.
Sort of a weird spot, but like they were trying new things.
Right.
They did a couple of meteoras that Sasha Banks delivered through a table and other shit. Becky gets the win. Really solid match. They're having a good feud. I don't know if that was the blow-off or if it's going to continue. We had other highlights of the evening. I'd say the Kabuki Warriors coming out of nowhere and winning the women's tag team belts off of Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross.
It's out of nowhere, but it was possibly time.
it's
it
about
wasn't
damn
built.
time.
It wasn't
about damn time. Asuka's been getting so much disrespect for so damn long. It's about damn time that she got a little bit of respect. Put some respect on her name, please.
The Kabuki Warriors, so named because Vince McMahon sees 2 Japanese women and says, "All right, put them in a kimono and get them the fuck out there.
At least they're not something geishas.
They can't speak English. Get them the fuck out there." So Kabuki Warriors go up against the tag team champs. They win at the beginning of the match. Their face, and then Grayson, what do they do to win and turn heel?
They turn heel. Asuka turns heel with the old school poison fog attack.
Also known colloquially as the Green Mist.
Yes, the green mist. The green mist, or Asian mist, refers to an illegal maneuver of spitting a colored liquid in the face of an opponent in wrestling. By doing so, the opponent will, in kayfabe, be blinded and experience intense stinging in the eyes. The move originated in Japan, where it is known as the dokugiri, or poison fog. Although it is used by a select few wrestlers around the world, the first wrestler to use it in Asia was the Great Kabuki. But the maneuver was handed down to his kayfabe son, the Great Muta. It was also associated with former WWE superstar Kwang and Yoshihiro Tajiri. In the 2000s, the mist was utilized by Mischief, Relic, Roxy, Laveau, Hornswoggle, and Rosemary.
Okay.
Yes, this is all from ProWrestlingFandom.com, the wiki. Again, it's the ultimate kind of heel foreigner Japanese.
Specifically heel Japanese foreigner move, or just a heel Japanese move in general. But so Tajiri, when I was a kid, I remember Tajiri doing it in ECW and then on WWE. I loved Asuka using the Green Mist and getting one over. Green Mist to a buzzsaw kick to the head, gets the pin, and they win the championship, turning heel in the process, pulling out a cool old move that, honestly, if you're gonna go with a...
full-on Japanese foreigner heel
if you're
gimmick.
If you're gonna go that far with it,
Take it.
If you're gonna go that problematic, just fucking go full-on Green.
I personally
Mist.
love it.
Also, Green Mist takes, for me as a wrestling fan, it actually makes it less problematic because you're leaning into a whole history of moves and sort of
agreed
different symbols that can be used. That match was good, and then we're just gonna cut ahead to the main event and talk about, we got the champion Seth Rollins versus the Fiend Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship in a Hell in a Cell match. And now the Fiend aka Kensington's favorite wrestler, my man Bray Wyatt. So Bray Wyatt, he was sort of a hillbilly witch doctor, Satanist, conjurer, magician man who dead Sister Abigail gave him some sort of ghost powers. It was pretty cool. I liked it. It was like the first big, really over supernatural gimmick since Kane, probably. And he is really in that Kane Undertaker's sort of oeuvre. He likes that kind of character.
Are we not counting Hornswoggle?
Yes, we're not counting Hornswoggle.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
That got buried inevitably. It didn't work out long term. He was the champ for a minute with that gimmick, but he found himself off of TV, retooled, and came up with this character, The Fiend, which I think is a really interesting character. He does these shows, Firefly Funhouse. The Fiend Bray Wyatt character is if like Steve from Blue's Clues had a split personality that was Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah, or like a Pee-wee's Playhouse.
He's like part serial killer, part children's host, and that sort of plays on this really creepy, even more than the shit he says or does, I think just the sort of familiar and unfamiliar weirdness of his character really gets across strong. I like it a lot.
I think by a lot of people's accounts, it's like maybe the best thing that's been going on in WWE for, I don't know, 6-ish months, maybe most of this year, really.
The promos have been really
I don't know how long they've been happening for. To me personally, it feels like they've been happening for almost an entire year at this point, but I think I'm over-exaggerating a little bit.
So I'm a sucker-ass Mark, and I love this shit.
I think they're good. It's been a while, and we
and
haven't
not
been,
a lot of
hasn't been
in-ring
doing
action.
a lot of wrestling.
There's
right,
no in-ring
exactly.
action. There was one match against Finn Balor at SummerSlam that was, I thought it was okay. Some people said it was really good, like wrestling critics, and then other people just didn't like it that much. It was sort of something in the middle, so we're waiting for this match. So anticipated. It's fucking October. Hell in a Cell. This is like a serial killer, dark character who's gonna go up against the Universal Champion. He's so over The Fiend. The fucking crowd is with this man. And what happens? First of all, they start with a great entrance. The Fiend comes out, all red lighting. He's carrying a lantern that is his severed head, Bray Wyatt's severed head. I think that's a really cool thing. It looks fucking awesome. It's super creepy.
Yeah, they've done it once before, and it was great then. It's still fantastic. There was some talks that they weren't going to do it again. I'm glad that they are still doing it. They might just not do it on television.
It might be a pay-per-view thing because it's a little graphic. But that's kind of where the good stuff ends. The lighting stays red throughout the match. I liked it a la Kane in the late 90s. I heard some people said live it was a little difficult to see. I've heard other people say they didn't have problems.
Yeah, they had like a red cage as well, which I could imagine maybe hurt with trying to watch it live in particular.
I mean, I thought it works on TV. I liked it because I thought one of the things that threw me off with the Finn Balor match is that seeing him in the lights of the arena made the character less menacing.
Yeah, I thought it looked kind of goofy against Finn, I'll be honest. This made it look less goofy, but again, I just personally think the character feels a little bit goofy in ring.
The Fiend comes out, no sells kendo stick shots to the gut and back. There's a few chair shots from Seth Rollins. They're sort of emphasizing the immovable object, superhuman, villainous character here with the Fiend. He's kind of like a horror movie villain, like how he keeps getting stabbed, but he keeps getting back up.
Right.
Mostly Seth doing crazy violent shit to him, which I thought was a weird and kind of shitty choice.
Surprising. Did not see that coming.
Yeah, so they're clearly trying to get Seth over even more. He's a beast slayer, he's a king slayer, now he's going to be a fiend slayer.
Right.
He delivers 11 stomps.
Yeah? Did you count?
11 stomps.
11 stomps is a lot. That's his finisher, right?
Yes, that is his finisher. And in WWE, where finishers are the least protected possibly in the fucking world, the stomp seems to be just like a drop in the water. They've been burying the stomp since, because he only faces big dudes. So he gave like 5 stomps to Brock Lesnar, several stomps to Braun Strowman.
Nobody trying to hear that pedigree shit for himself.
And Bray Wyatt kicks out at 1. Everybody goes nuts in the crowd. The crowd clearly wants The Fiend to go over and win the championship because I think the character, it seems like the character needs to keep the momentum going.
It doesn't... Yeah, it almost doesn't make sense to have the character
get beat by Seth Rollins, maybe of all people.
So out of desperation, Seth Rollins piles a chair and a ladder on top of the Fiend, then empties a toolbox on top of him, and then wields a sledgehammer above the Fiend's head. The ref says some BS like, "This isn't you, Seth. Think about what you're doing." Seth swings the sledgehammer down on the pile of stuff that's covering the Fiend's head, so he doesn't really feel the impact from the sledgehammer. He's just hitting a pile of shit with it, basically. And the ref calls for the bell. The crowd erupts in boos.
Yeah, it was even before he hit the sledgehammer.
Was
shot.
it? Or it might have been like right as he was swinging.
Nah, he didn't even hit a sledgehammer shot. It was before he called it because, well, yeah, he calls the match.
So anyway, chance of restart the match, AEW, and later refund rain down from the crowd. I don't think I've heard a more angry crowd, and WWE tends to piss off a lot of people. Last year's Hell in a Cell was one where the crowd was really upset after the main event.
Oh, boy.
Mostly anything with Roman Reigns from the past 3 years really pissed off everybody.
5 years, I don't know.
But yeah, so Dave Meltzer, who we talked about before, the OG wrestling journalist, in his Wrestling Observer radio show, said that it might be the worst booking decision in the history of the company. And according to multiple sources, including journalist and editor of Fightful.com, Sean Ross Sapp, the booking and the finish both came straight from Vince McMahon. After the bell gets rung, in typical WWE style, the Fiend gets his heat back immediately, pops up, beats up Seth Rollins, slaps on the mandible claw. Seth Rollins is bleeding from the mouth, and the Fiend runs away. People are still booing. Lights go out, show's over. Let's talk about this finish. I don't know. I explained literally everything, but it's...
Nobody's happy.
Yeah.
People are only mad at the fact that the ref stopped the match.
Yes.
Right.
If the ref don't stop the match, we're not shitting on this.
And so...
But understand this. You put a ladder and a chair and a toolbox and took a sledgehammer and slammed it on a man's face. You gotta give the ref a pass for having compassion and being a fucking human being. Alright? Alright? So, this ain't you. He's right. Kids, don't do this at home.
It's a Hell in a Cell match.
If you look closely, Bray's face is protected like shit.
Of
but
course.
from the angle, this is some fucked up shit. You know, and it's just like...
Mick Foley
Yeah.
fell off the fucking thing,
just-
then fell through the thing, got concussed, got a fucking tooth through his lip, and then they didn't call the match. He decided to take a fucking tombstone bump through some fucking thumbtacks.
Yeah, just go on Wikipedia Hell in a Cell matches. Like if you don't know the history of them, Wikipedia them real quick. Some of the most dangerous and most hardcore things that WWE has ever done in their history have happened in this match format.
But they gotta know that the fans aren't gonna like that. They gotta know that there's other ways to book.
Again, the rules of the match format are that it is a no disqualification match.
What were you guys, honestly, because I know I'm a Fiend mark. I really liked this character. I was disappointed. What did you guys expect going in? Because you kind of walked out of the room like as soon as that shit started.
Business being booked versus Seth Rollins.
And that I agree with.
But I don't think the Fiend should really have to chase the belt.
I think that if you can't commit to putting the belt on this character, you're gonna fuck up the flow, and so therefore you shouldn't book the match. Right. It was a bad decision to book the match to begin with on that level. But the other thing to consider is that the Fiend, like the Undertaker or those other supernatural characters, they don't need the belt to be over. Facts. You don't even really need them in a title shot situation.
But Bray Wyatt can actually wrestle.
He can.
Not saying the Undertaker can't wrestle and Kane can't wrestle because they're big. They're good for big guys. But Bray can actually have a match, and I feel like they're trying to put him in a position to not have a fucking match.
Yeah, see, that's the thing.
What happened. He didn't wrestle at all.
Yeah. Obviously, I would say, do you think either of these guys benefited from this match?
Obviously not.
If you're going to book this match and you can't have a finish and you want one or both of them to get over, what do you do?
I think maybe you have it happen at a pay-per-view, almost any pay-per-view that isn't this one, that is a no DQ pay-per-view. Shit, you could have had it happen on this pay-per-view and not have it in the Hell in a Cell. It'd have been a chicken shit move, but you could have done it.
A no pinfall finish, no submission finish.
A no finish, belt doesn't change hands.
And protect both.
Yes. Bray Wyatt. Here's my angle. Here's what I would have done. Fantasy booking bullshit from Cold Keith. If you want to keep the belt on Seth and you don't want to bury either of them or fuck up the flow, what you do is not that dissimilar from what happened in the sense that you can have a no contest, but I think what you have to do is Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, has to show that he doesn't give a fuck about the belt. Because the build to it wasn't really about the belt. It was just him attacking dudes and attacking Seth. He didn't even talk about the belt in the promos, really. What you do is you have Bray Wyatt go out there and fucking mangle the ref and Seth Rollins and put over that he's like kayfabe injuring the shit out of Seth Rollins. You have him bleeding out the mouth early. More refs come in. He fucks up all the refs. He basically goes on like a fucking psychotic break and starts icing everybody. The lights go out, show's over. So I think people would like that.
What you're saying is...
I would like that because it builds the character.
Keep the same match and just don't have the refs stop it.
Well, Seth Rollins had all the offense. I think you flip the script and you have the Fiend come back.
After the match, he had all the offense.
He did, but I think you do it earlier, you pull the trigger, and you make it more extreme. Because I think that preserves the Fiend's character, keeps the belt on Seth. He could be off TV for a couple of weeks selling a kayfabe injury. I don't think it makes him look bad because the Fiend just snaps. That's not even wrestling at that point.
I think
that's that
for this
violent
pay-per-view,
shit.
they should have planted the seed of this feud.
Yeah.
Where it's just like Seth has a Hell in a Cell match versus whoever, and all of a sudden lights go out.
Bray Wyatt comes up from underneath the ring.
He's in the cage.
Yeah, Seth could have wrestled. Well, I guess
he fucking wrestled Cesaro for all I care.
Right, sure.
Put the fucking belt on Cesaro.
Sure.
Transitional champion.
It doesn't really matter because the Fiend's gonna win the belt soon anyway. It doesn't really matter who wins it.
Does the Fiend win the belt though? I like the character. I don't even know if he needs it. Like I'm saying, I feel like you could just put him over as just a wild card.
At this point, I don't really want to see him win the belt. I'll be honest. I think they kind of
fucked
fucked it up. I think they kind of fucked it
up.
up.
Next segment, we're going to talk about the stories from the wrestling internet that have intrigued us and piqued our interest this week. We're going to be talking about the WrestleMedia.
This segment is called WrestleMedia.
Only thing that really interests me this week, NWA Power. Y'all need to check that out on YouTube. And low key rumor, Edge is coming back. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the truth to come to the light as we speak.
The rated R superstar.
Nice. I like that.
Lita's gonna make a comeback too, and they're gonna have sex in the ring.
Oh my gosh, please.
She's a
not
MILF to somebody else now.
Something, I don't know. So Master P is getting back into the wrestling business. Former WCW wrestling star Master P.
Woo!
Just tweeted saying that he's making history by bringing hip hop to wrestling. Quote, he don't own the NFL, NBA, or MLB, but we do own House of Glory, aka HOG. Join the movement. We all we got. He tagged the House of Glory promotion run by Amazing Red, but House of Glory has yet to make a comment. I'm very curious about that. Yes, na.
All right, my WrestleMedia story of the week is something I saw on Reddit where Randy Orton was, I guess to put it lightly, shithouse drunk on Twitch with a fan. A young guy who I guess is a fan of Randy Orton reached out to him on Twitch. They sort of correspond. And he streamed playing, I believe, Call of Duty with Randy Orton. They're playing a first-person shooter, and Randy is clearly, having a couple drinks, vaping, and talking shit. At one point, he does a AJ Styles impersonation, which is quite literally, I'm AJ Styles, I'm a fucking redneck. He also says that he liked the AEW show, that he really likes Sammy Guevara, and that he would go to AEW to have a match with him. And then he said, actually, I'd probably go there to have a match with a couple of different guys. And at various points, he says things about how if he misses his Fox promo shoot in the morning, that the Twitch streamer's got to get him a new job, or if anybody knows any other wrestling promoters, and tell him to give him a call. He's just shooting, man. I enjoy drunk Randy Orton playing vid games and shooting.
Drunk
I think I speak for everybody when I say that I would love to see Randy Orton have a stint in New Japan.
And to wrap up this week's show, we're going to do a little thing that's going to be a recurring segment where we name our Wrestler of the Week. It's called Wrestler of the Week.
I'm brawling in Japan like Stan Hansen. Clothes on your ass, put the boys in the back, then I take it to the stand, son. New Jack on Mass Transit. You fucked, homie. So you wanna be the Wrestler of the Week. Yeah, you wanna be the Wrestler. But your spots is shit.
Alright, I guess I'll go first. My wrestler of the week is none other than maybe my favorite wrestler in WWE, Asuka. She not only won with Kairi Sane, won the women's tag belts, she also got a new gimmick, the Poison Fog, and their heels. Then on Raw, she her tag team also managed to beat the current Raw and SmackDown women's champions in a tag match.
It's true.
Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Again, they got their heel gimmick over with the Poison Fog again. And now that they're dirty foreign heels, they got to cut their heel promo in Japanese.
Yep.
I think all these things are a win for... So I shouldn't just say Asuka. It's really the tag team of Asuka and Kairi Sane. But Asuka has been getting the shit into the stick for a while now, especially from Becky and Charlotte. So I really appreciate her beating both their asses on Monday.
Right. Rodney, who you got for Wrestler of the Week?
I have a tie. I've been thinking about this over the last 48 seconds or so. I'll have to say Wrestler of the Week to me goes to Adam Cole for holding it down. The new greatest wrestler in the world. I want to let everybody know the bandwagon is open for Adam Cole. Please come on over.
Choo-choo!
Come on over.
Well, that's the train, not the bandwagon.
Yes, come on over. We are up and running. Just want everybody to know he's going to be top 5 in the end.
That's true.
Top 5, whatever conversation category, whatever you want to say. He got the Triple H in him. He got the Shawn Michaels in him. He got the AJ Styles. This is his era right now. Officially started last week. And also to Kofi Kingston for ending his 140-day title reign probably. Great summer. I appreciated it. It was a good year of wrestling so far. Hopefully we pull this shit together after a shit ending to SmackDown and a bullshit ending to Hell in a Cell. But Kofi Kingston and Adam Cole are my wrestlers of the week, just off the love.
And so I'm gonna have to double up on Rod there and say that Adam Cole is my wrestler of the week. He had the match of the week with Matt Riddle. They both went over really big. Cole gets the win, does his heel shit. Great offense, and beyond the match, Undisputed Era still has all the gold in NXT, and now we got Finn Balor and Tommaso Ciampa coming for the crown. Adam Cole has a few great challengers for the belt coming up, so excellent ideas, all sorts of different programs possible there. So I am Cold Keith, joined by Fat Rod and two T's. And my man, Dr. Grayson Boyd, Doctor of Wrestling Psychology.
Dr. Grayson.
And so this has been the People's Pipebomb. This is our first podcast. Please feel free to like, subscribe, ask any questions. Let us know what you think of the episode. Anything you want us to cover, anything that you need some clarification on, just hit me up. Anybody else got anything to plug?
I'm going to see you soon.
Yeah, there's a couple things I'd like to plug. There's a big New Japan show, maybe the best New Japan show card that's happened since the G1 tournament on, I think, Monday. Go check that out if you want. There's also a pretty big Ring of Honor show on Saturday. They're having the end of their number one contender tournament, and then I think they're also having whoever wins it fight Roosh also on Saturday. That's kind of pretty cool. Looks like they might have PCO versus Marty for the championship, or for the number one contendership. Could be cool. Also, Rodney, as you said before, NWA, go check it out on YouTube. It was pretty good.
All right, everybody, thank you very much for listening to the first episode of the People's Pipebomb. And like we always say for the first time, if you're gonna shoot from the hip, you better empty the clip. Peace.